to go into the program. You can go back in days. You can't go forward, but you can go back. On your welcome day, you'll see that there are a list of PDFs at the bottom that
Okay.
gives you some very important information and will help you during this process. So go back, take a look and look at those things, and we're going to talk about them now.
Okay.
So the purpose of this, I call it a challenge, purpose of the Super 50 is to give you guys some basic and very important information about nutrition to get you moving in the direction where you are consuming whole single ingredient foods. So we're looking to get rid of processed foods as much as possible. Okay, not all processed foods are created equally. There are some, certainly, with a lot of conscious companies out there trying to make convenience foods without all the problems that go along with them. But for the most part, we're looking to stay in the perimeter of the grocery store, lean proteins, fresh fruits and vegetables, okay, out of the boxes, out of the packages. There are two main reasons for that. First and foremost, processed foods typically contain a whole lot of things that our bodies have no idea how to process. And what happens there, these things are toxins, right? And they affect our bodies in ways such as inflammation, joint pain, headaches. They contribute greatly to the symptoms of menopause, which most of us who are in this challenge are in some phase of, whether it's peri, whether you're in menopause, whether you're further along in the process. At any given point in time, you can be experiencing those symptoms. Peace out, coach. You can be experiencing those symptoms that I'm pretty sure we've all had and don't like. So processed foods contribute greatly to that. The second reason that we look at processed foods and want to eliminate them is because we're kind of taking our body's ability to, or need to, I should say, digest whole food. Processed foods are exactly that. They're processed. They're put into a form where I guess you could really say that they're already partially digested for you. They're already broken down greatly. And you not only decrease your metabolism by doing that, slows your metabolism down tremendously because it takes much less energy to process those foods. So good, solid whole foods not only take away the toxins, help us to relieve many symptoms, menopausal and not, and help to increase our metabolism. So that's the whole point of this challenge or in this program, 6 weeks. Okay. So before I even get into the workings of the program, I want to talk about something that was in that first week, and it talked about your why. What we do in here in the studio, and the three of you are within the studio. You train within our doors. So hopefully you're learning along the way that we have a very holistic process when it comes to changing and transformation. It's not gimmicky. It's not, here's your meal plan. It's not eat cabbage soup for 4 weeks and lose weight and then go back and try and function in the world. This is about change. And unless you are ready and willing to go through what is more times than not a difficult process, right? All of these things that you do have been built, the habits have been built over a pretty decent amount of time. So embracing change and taking things one step at a time is going to be your success to moving forward. Having a strong why, having a good, strong, solid reason as to why you would like to change is of the utmost importance. It can't be, I want to be skinny. God, I hope you're not thinking that, because skinny is not where to be. You want to be strong and you want to be lean. want to be within a safe body fat percentage moving forward. But regardless of what your goals are, again, you need that why. And the why has to be substantial. The why has to hit home, and the why has to it has to be strong enough that when you feel like you kind of want to veer off your path, that you can tap into that why and have it pull you back in. So clearly, I want to fit in that dress for the wedding. Now, that might be strong enough for the short term, but to make this sustainable, there has to be a big reason why. One of my clients, her why is the fact that her mother, excuse me, her mother is not in the best overall physical health. She is, she's not very mobile. And they know that it has a lot to do with her diabetes and other things that are going on. And it limits the family. It limits them during get-togethers. It limits their vacation. She doesn't want to be that person. She sees where her mother has gotten. She sees what everyone has done. And she does not want to be the person that can't participate with the rest of her family later in her life. And who also, not that she feels like her mother is a burden, but doesn't want to be a burden to anyone. That's a strong why. She taps into that all the time. And it keeps her on path 90% of the time. So when you're figuring out what your why is, because it's not always so obvious to us, right? When you're figuring out what your why is, you have to ask yourself, well, why do I want to do that? Well, it might be I want to be strong and healthy. Well, why? I really like to spend days, I like taking walks in the evening. So I know I need to get myself in a good place. I know I need to be able to stay mobile. Well, why? And typically, if you really dig deep and ask yourself why over and over and over, you will start to get to the root of things. And it may not happen in 5 minutes. Hopefully not, unless you're really solid and you've gone through this process before. But typically it takes a while, and it may take you a week, and you may revisit it and you may go back, but finding your why and really keeping that prominent. It may be on the refrigerator. It may be just in your head. It may be part of daily affirmations that you make. Could be anything, but constantly tapping into your why and remembering why it is that you want to make change is the key to the start of this process. Okay? So if you haven't gone through already and found your why, it's time to set some time aside this weekend and really start internalizing, get introspective, really tap in and really spend some time getting that done. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Kitchen cleanup. That was pretty much the first start of this. Your environment is one of the biggest players in this, one of the biggest factors. We all know people who work in an office or people who work around a lot of other people. If the break room has, the donuts that the do-gooders did or brought in, or bagels or whatever it is, all the leftovers people brought in, and that's on the way to the bathroom, or that's where you're going to make your coffee, people are going to jump in on that table in the break room. If Susan has a bowl of candy up on the shelf that you walk by every day, chances are you're grabbing a bowl of candy or a piece of candy from that bowl, at least once, at least one time. If you work from home and you have all the snacks and all the things that your kids eat or your husband eats or you eat or whatever, you've got all of this around you and you know it's there. It's going to contribute to success or lack thereof, right? So we start off by going through a kitchen cleanup. And there are extremes, there's different levels of how you can go about this. It's unrealistic to think that you are going to take everything out of the house and everybody is going to be totally fine with it. We all know about the backlash when the Oreos are now no longer there. Okay. Maybe your kids can have Oreos at night. Maybe they're good with two. I can tell you flat out, if there are Oreos in the house, even if I tell myself I'm going to have two Oreos and take them and go sit down, I can tell you with 100% certainty that I have no problem getting back up to get two more Oreos. I have no problem with that. If I know they're there and they were that good when I first had them, I could go through a sleeve of Oreos in a second flat. So I personally don't even get Oreos, but that might be unrealistic for you guys. The idea is to remove as much of the processed food from your kitchen, from your house as you can. Now, if there are things that you would like for your family to have, those snacks and things, designate an area for that. Maybe there's a part of the pantry that has a big basket in it and it's just in that basket. Maybe you have to take that basket and put it in the pantry down in the basement. Maybe it's on the garage shelf and that's where you keep it. Just out of sight, out of mind, whatever it is that's going to work for you. That's what you have to start thinking. And they can deal with the change. They can go down in the basement pantry or wherever it is. But as long as it's not something that is in your face and causing you to have, to stray and have issues, it will work, right? That being said, in terms of meals themselves, that part they deal with, right? Unless you're going to become a short order cook and you're going to start making, box macaroni and cheese for the kids while you're making something, not processed or less healthy or more healthy for yourself. Nobody wants to go through all of that process, right? So this is something that can be brought into the family and really started to get everybody on the same page. And it's beneficial to absolutely everyone. So this is a good thing for you moving forward on that. So kitchen cleanup, go through, take a look, remove. Are you wasting it? No, you're not wasting it. There are food banks. Take a whole big bag and donate it, or whatever it is you need to do. Some things probably are expired already. Throw them out. Just remove processed foods from your house and move what you feel you need to have away from you somewhere. Okay. In the welcome, you would have found information on meal mapping and menu mapping. Failing to plan is planning to fail. We know this in every aspect of our life. If we're trying to get something done and we don't have a plan to help us reach our goal, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work. We are people who are running constantly. We get tired. Things come up where the best laid, plan on the fly isn't going to work. So having something in check, having something ready to go is also going to help you move through this process. So first and foremost, depending on when your breaks are, when your off time is. I know it's not always the typical Saturday and Sunday anymore, but somewhere in your week, hopefully you have at least a day where you have some downtime. A day that you do your grocery shopping, do whatever it is that you get done. Take some time to look at the week ahead and map out meals, even if it's just recipes, even if it's just dinner, or whatever it is that's your big meal of the day, or the meal that is most challenging for you to make and stick to. Most of the times that's dinner for people. If you get a plan ahead of time and know what those recipes are and know what it is you're going to make, it helps in a number of ways. First of all, when you're going to the grocery store, you're going to save money because you're not just buying things that are going in. You're going to buy for the meals that you intend to make. Second of all, you've got a plan in place. You already know that on Tuesday, you're making, I don't know, whatever you're making, grilled chicken, whatever. Also, at dinner time, make enough that you can take some to lunch on the next day. okay? Or have it for lunch on the next day, so that there's no question when you're running about or you're at work. It's easy to take it with you. It's already made in the refrigerator if you're working at home. You have that plan. When I talk about meal mapping, I also talk about meal prep / food prep. Everybody seems to be intimidated by that thought, and it doesn't have to be difficult because the plan has to be yours and it has to work within your own parameters, right? So there are people who spend an entire morning on Sundays putting all this kind of food together and they have it for the week. Well, that's great for them if that's what works for them and that's what they want to do. Some people don't like leftovers for that long stretch of time. Some people don't want to take the time or don't have the time to spend 3 hours at a block putting things together. And some people don't like putting whole meals together. If you do, that's wonderful. Do it. But food prep is a different concept, and that's what I follow typically myself. I will prepare proteins. I'll put different marinades on chicken breast and I'll grill some and I'll saute some or I'll do whatever. And I have just my proteins ready to go. I may come home from the grocery store and know that I'm going to make a stir fry one night and take my peppers and onions and whatever vegetables I'm going to put in there and just cut them and throw them in a bag so that I know in that Ziploc bag when I come home at 8 o'clock at night, I can just throw it in and everything's ready to go. Different things to make your life easier and to make it faster and to make it doable so you don't feel like it's this big, huge process because we're all running all the time. Okay, so think in terms of writing down a plan that's going to work for you. Some people go grocery shopping every 2 days. They have the time where they can come home and say, I want to see what's fresh, the old European way of going down to the market daily or hitting whatever produce is good for you that day and building something around that. That's a good way to do it too. Whatever works for you, you just need to take a look and see realistically, whether or not it's something that's going to work into your lifestyle. And sit back and say, let's see, do I really think on a scale of 1 to 10, can I get this done, this plan that I've outlined? Well, if it's not a 10, look it over, revamp it. Okay? Some things that you make, you think in terms of bulk cooking, especially now in the winter, right? A lot of chilies and soups and stews. Make much more than you need and freeze some for the nights that maybe the plan just didn't work and you can come home and pull that out of the freezer. Okay. So having a plan is really is key to all of this. All right. Especially when you're just trying to build habits. So that will be helpful. All right. So we talk about cleaning up. We talk about single ingredient foods. We talk about all that kind of stuff. I want to break it down a little bit and just talk quickly about macronutrients. We hear that buzzword out there. What are your macros? Who are you? What's the balance? Who's eating what? What are you doing? For those of you who don't know what macros or macronutrients are, they're broken down. Protein, healthy fat, carbohydrates. Sometimes they break it down a little bit further and say fiber as well. Fiber is included in carbohydrates for the most part, just to make it easy. Those are your 3 macronutrients, okay? They are all equally important. Let me say that again. Protein, healthy fat, and carbohydrates, yes, carbohydrates, are all equally important. They serve a purpose. Your body needs them all. And I'm going to tell you why. On the very simplest level, I'm not getting very sciencey today. I'm not going to go crazy with things. Protein. Protein is building blocks. They're building blocks. They help build and maintain as well lean muscle mass. okay? Your lean muscle mass supports your skeletal system. What is one of the main issues with women as estrogen lowers throughout this time in our lives and hormones change and our bodies change? A lack of calcium, a lower bone density. It's huge. The good news is you guys have all started strength training. The more lean muscle mass your body carries, the higher your bone density. A couple years back, I fell, got a good scar in here. I fell off an 8-foot wall and shattered and dislocated my wrist. And I went into the surgeon's office and he's looking at my x-rays, talking about how there's really not anything they can do without putting some nice hardware in there, which is what I have. And he said, but I have to ask you how old you are again. At the time, I said, I'm 52. And he said, you have the bone density of a 27-year-old woman. It's crazy. I said, strength training and whole foods. I don't eat processed foods. I eat a higher protein diet, still pretty balanced. I eat about 40% protein, 30% carbohydrates and healthy fats. Helps me support my lean muscle mass. As I lose, I hate to say weight, as I burn fat, it helps me maintain my muscle mass so that I'm not just losing weight, because we don't want to lose weight. We want to maintain muscle. We want to burn fat. Protein is the most important part of that process. Maintaining and building lean muscle mass and burning fat. Protein. Healthy fat. Oh, healthy fat. Pretty much you can sum that up by saying plant-based fat. Okay? I'm not talking about fried chicken. I'm not talking about big, heavy, full-fat dairy. I'm not talking about any of those kinds of things. I'm talking about nuts and seeds and olive oil and avocado oil, peanut butter, no sugar peanut butter, right? No added sugars, just good solid nut butters and those kinds of things. Avocados, of the utmost important. Not only is it important for brain health, for your skin, for most importantly, nutrient absorption from your food. Without your healthy fats, you don't have the same ability to absorb the nutrients from the food you eat during digestion. But it also helps with that balance in hormones. So it helps lower hot flashes. It helps lower night sweats. I know you're like, what? Yes, yes. Carbohydrates. Ah! Don't eat carbs. They're bad. They make us fat. Wrong, 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 wrong. Carbohydrates are your body's main source of energy. Carbohydrates are your body's main source of energy. First and foremost, your body and your metabolism is meant to operate with all of these macronutrients in balance. Okay? The kind of carbohydrates you eat definitely make a difference. So if you're looking at white flour and white rice and white potatoes, yes, pasta and semolina is also white flour, cakes, cookies, all of those kinds of things, those are not the carbohydrates that your body is looking for. They are very easily digested. They do not provide you with much in the way of nutrients. And they will sit and cause problems for you. And yes, you probably will have a more difficult time burning fat. However, whole grains, quinoa, brown rice, steel cut oats, those kinds of things, fruits and vegetables, real fruits and vegetables, not fruit in syrup, actual fruits and vegetables from the produce section. Those carbohydrates are exactly what your body is looking for and helps you maintain a healthy metabolism. You need the glucose, you need the insulin, you need those things in order for your body to process. They will also help to reduce hot flashes as well, okay? Whole foods in general are going to help lessen any kind of menopausal symptom. I can tell you that if I have too much coffee and maybe have a drink, like have some tequila or something like that, I will have hot flashes forever. The whole day I will have hot flashes. Miserable. Feels like, you guys know what it feels like. It feels like you're in a microwave and being cooked from the inside out. It's horrible. If I don't have those two things, and I don't really eat processed food in general. I eat all whole foods. Without that, I have no symptoms whatsoever. None. No menopausal symptoms. And I'm not in menopause yet. I'm still in perimenopause at 54, which I joke that, maybe somewhere somebody forgot to check me off on the list. I don't know. They forgot about me and left me on the side. I'm cool with it. I'm fine because I don't have any symptoms. So between exercise and whole food, I'm good to go. I know exactly when I'm going to have an issue, and I have that education to know for my particular body what those triggers are going to be. So I can decide, all right, I can sacrifice a couple hot flashes tomorrow to have a drink tonight because I'm out with my friends and I want to have a drink, whatever. But moving through and making this transition into whole foods is going to really make a big difference for you in terms of being able to actually pinpoint whatever your triggers are, because most likely my triggers are not your triggers. All right. Okay. So do I have any questions in terms of the things that we've discussed at this point? What do we have out there?
Where do eggs fall in?
Where do eggs fall in? So eggs are a protein, and they are also fat. And are they considered a healthy fat? So technically it's an animal fat, right? So healthy, it wouldn't be what you'd first think of as a healthy fat. However, eggs tend to increase your good cholesterol. And there's so much information on this out there in terms of, good, bad, blah, blah, blah. Would I say to eat a dozen eggs a day? No. If you have, everybody's going to be different. So if you have an issue with your cholesterol and you've switched over to all, good solid lean proteins in terms of chicken breast and unprocessed meats, lean proteins, fishes, like I said, poultries, no skin, white meat. If you've made that switch and you aren't eating red meat, and your cholesterol is still high, then I might be concerned. I would talk to your doctor about whether or not it's okay to incorporate eggs into your diet. But overall, eggs are not typically the problem. Now, I will say that the protein in eggs is in the white, right? So if you love to have eggs and you're finding that on your day, maybe, oh, I really want to have salmon tonight, and I love to have peanut butter. Well, now you've got a tremendous amount of fat in your day. Even too much of a good thing, we said, healthy fats, even too much of a good thing can be a problem. So you might want to look at that and say, well, I'm going to make myself an omelet, and I'm going to make it with 1 whole egg and 3 egg whites. So now you've reduced the amount of fat. That's what I typically do. I have like one yolk in there just to make it, a little richer, give it a little bit of something. But the rest I have egg whites, so I can still get my protein in, and it's not as much fat. So that answer to that one, that's always the tough one. That is, where does your cholesterol lie? What other things are you eating along with it? Eggs themselves, not horrible. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it's the cheese I throw on the omelet.
Yeah, well, there's that. There's that. There's cheese. And it doesn't mean that you have to remove these things all from your life. But if you're making yourself a 3-egg omelet and you've got a hunk of cheese that you're throwing in there, that's probably not the best. But if you're making what we just said, a combo of like that whole egg and some egg whites, and you just take a sprinkle of cheese or grate some fresh Parmesan on it so that, you know, you have got the flavor of the cheese, but there's not a tremendous amount. That's another way to like just get the flavor without getting all that fat, right?
Yeah.
Just you can start thinking in terms of modifications to start lessening, you know, the impact that things have.
Yeah, unfortunately, the yolk's my favorite part.
Yeah, I know. I
No.
know.
So what do you do? You just toss your egg yolks when you do the
Uh,
3
well,
egg
you know
white?
what I do? I buy egg whites.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just use that. There's a lot of great products out there that you can get organic egg whites in a container, and it
Okay.
has measurement right on the side. So I'll crack an egg and then I'll add, you know, I don't know, half cup or 3/4 of a cup, how depending on how hungry I am. I'll add that to the egg so that I'm not wasting
Okay, gotcha.
the egg yolk. Yep,
Yeah, because I tend to keep hard-boiled eggs too in case I want a snack. I try to
that's
go for
good.
like that.
A good snack. And it really, they're handy, right? They're convenient that if you need to take some and go, that with an apple or something like that, it's a good snack to have. Um, and it doesn't mean that you can't have them. I mean, maybe you pop the yolk out of one of them, or maybe your cholesterol is fine and it's not an issue for you when you're not eating a lot of fat on the day. You know, it's just a matter again of looking at what that balance is. It's not that one food, it's the
So,
day,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Fiona
Well,
and Katya, what do we have going on out there? How are you guys doing? Have you started the process? Have you cleaned out your kitchen? Have you done any of those things yet?
Well, I have 2 boys and 2 dogs, so I just have to stay away from the kitchen. I work so much that I can control what I eat
Okay.
because I don't normally eat at home. So there's a control there, and that's something that happened by mistake, obviously. But I did have a question. Do you think that the 40/30/30 ratio is good for us to get started, or me to get started, or do I change the ratio when it comes
So
down to the macros?
So I usually start unless there's an issue, unless I'm working with an athlete or something like that. But for people who are just looking to lose fat, and I'm going to start talking about that in terms of trying to burn body fat. We're not trying to lose weight. It's a very different process, right? We don't want to lose weight. So for you looking to burn fat, I always 90% of the time I will start people off with a 40/30/30 ratio.
Okay.
Okay. And it may be that that works for you for a while, and then maybe it changes. Maybe you hit a plateau, and then you need to look at your caloric intake as well as your macronutrients, and see what happens there. When I'm in a different phase, when I'm not just looking to be in maintenance, a lot of times I'll change my own macros up. It might be 40% carbohydrates with 30/30 in terms of protein and fat. It just depends on what it is that I'm trying to do. And my body is going to respond differently to macronutrients than yours. But for the most part, the initial stages of burning through that body fat is going to be that 40/30/30. You want to make sure that you're not losing muscle mass while you're losing weight.
Okay.
Okay. Did you guys do the nutrition report by any chance? Did you go through that and fill that out to get an idea of, you know, caloric intake or?
I know I didn't.
I know, because you didn't open up the program yet.
No,
So look at day 1 and it's in there.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, if you do fill that out, let me know immediately so I can take a look at it and just go through and troubleshoot it and make sure that it's giving you a good start. The nutrition report isn't going to be exact. I can tell you that, because it works from your estimation of what your daily activity is. Okay. It will, however, give you a good starting point for us to kind of troubleshoot and see where you need to be. If you wear a tracker of any kind, if you have a Fitbit or if you have an Apple Watch that has the ability to tell you your total caloric burn, and it does that through, it does that through heart rate, then that's an even better start. You can get more exact. So if you have one of those trackers and you wear that 24/7, I wear an Apple Watch, and when I want to hone in, I only take it off when I take a shower, and I can throw it on a fast charger, take my shower, get myself together, and put it back on. So it's only really off of my wrist for an hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour for that day. Well, you're only talking about 70 to 100 calories in there, depending on what your metabolism is like. My metabolism runs high. So for me, I'm not losing that much info by not having it on for that hour. And you have to charge it, and nothing is exact anyway. But you can get a good idea of what your daily average burn is. And then you can look at creating a caloric deficit from that burn. I wouldn't suggest you just determine that on your own, though, because most people will say, oh, well, I couldn't possibly need to eat that much, or gee, if I'm burning 2,000 calories a day, let me just eat 1,000 calories so that I can really get this done quickly. You won't. You won't. Most people, when they go into this process, don't eat enough food to lose weight. Your body is not going to respond to you if you're not giving it the fuel that it needs. So be very careful, or get a coach to help you go through the process if that's the route that you decide to choose. Okay. If your body isn't given enough energy, your metabolism is going to slow down tremendously, and it's not going to be the fat incinerator that you want it to be. When I'm looking to burn fat, I probably eat about 2,000 calories a day, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm not telling you to do that. That's my body based on my activity level and my training. But the point is, I'm not eating 1,200 calories a day. My body would not respond to me if I did that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started going through this process with Coach 9 years ago, and at that point, I trained 6 days a week. I trained hard, and I knew what my calories were. I logged my food. I had my macros in place. Everything was good, and I was burning fat and building muscle through the process. And I came upon a week where nothing happened. And I was like, okay, something must be wrong. Went to the next week, nothing happened. I was so frustrated. I walked in. Coach will tell you this story. He remembers it to this day. I walked in. We had this orange couch at the time, or he did, because I wasn't a coach at that point. And sat down on the couch. I was in tears, not because I was upset crying. I was just so frustrated. And I was like, I'm here every day. I'm doing this. I'm eating right. Blah, 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 blah. He asked me what my caloric deficit was. I told him, and he said, okay, I want you to increase your calories every day by 250. And I was like, do you hear what I'm telling you? Like, I'm not losing weight anymore. You want me to eat more? He's like, just give me 2 weeks. If that doesn't work, we'll change it up. What could go wrong in 2 weeks? I said, all right. 2 weeks later, I lost 3 pounds. And it was body fat percentage. I burned fat. I did not lose any muscle mass. I was like, wow, okay, all right. So that's how that goes. So go ahead and do the nutrition report if you'd like to. It will give you a basic idea of where it thinks your calories should be. Please, again, if you decide to do the nutrition report to determine that, let me know that you did that so I can take a look at what the results were and make any adjustments that I feel would be beneficial to you. Otherwise, use your tracker and keep it on and take a look at your daily burn and find an average for that and go from there. Okay? All right.
All right.
All right, ladies. So that's it for today. Okay, we'll have
I do have a question.
go ahead.
You had sent a message in regards to, you said protein and whether we wanted chocolate or vanilla.
Yes. So we just talked about the importance of protein, right? And we talked about 40% of your calorie intake being from protein. If you've started doing that, you may be having some difficulty getting that much protein into your diet. So protein powder, and a good protein powder, is a good supplement to help you get that in. There's about 24 in our protein. There's about 24 grams of protein in a scoop. You can use it as a supplement to help you reach your protein intake on the day. I would not recommend you having more than 2 scoops of protein a day as a supplement. And in conjunction with like 3 good solid meals of protein, because you want to make sure that your body actually has to break something down, right? So just like we talked about processed foods not being a help to your metabolism because they're already partially broken down for you, protein powder isn't something that is difficult for your body to digest, right? So you still want to make sure that your body is going through the thermogenic effect of having to break food down in order to increase your metabolism. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about that itself when we talk about metabolism. So you'll get a little bit more of an education on that. But essentially, in a nutshell, that's what the protein is for. It's a supplement to help you reach your protein goals. And it's awesome. We have our own made in-house for our clients. We don't make any money on it any longer because the prices have gone up on our end so much that we just break even to provide that to you guys. We have vanilla and chocolate. It mixes exceptionally well. It tastes good enough that you can have it in water. And it's not chalky. It's great. So we have it in-house if it's something that you
But
feel
you don't make making a smoothie.
yes, and you can make any number of different things. There's a shake guide on day 1
Okay.
of this to help you learn how to put some together. But also we have a shake cookbook that actually breaks down macros, calories, different things, and has a bazillion recipes, and it will put it into like a meal replacement category or a snack category, just different categories for you to really get an idea of what is good to have when.
Okay.
And we can certainly email that to you with your protein powder so you have an idea of what you're bringing in.
Okay.
So we have, I think we have both chocolate and vanilla in-house now. We did a pre-order before, but we do have some left and they're in. So if you want to purchase when you come in,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, because they kind of, with my schedule of always being sitting at this desk all
Yeah.
day, smoothies are an easy way for me to
Get a
keep
snack in because you
veggie-
still need to get 3 good solid meals of protein in. So don't just say, oh, well, I'm gonna make 3 shakes today and that's what I'm gonna live on, because it's not sustainable. And as soon as you go back to eating regular food, even if it's whole food, your metabolism is going to be so out of whack because it's going to be so slow that it's going to be difficult for your body to catch up. I do a lot of, for lack of a better term, metabolic repair on people who come to me from things like keto diets and, these kinds of things, fad diets, shakes, and just different things that are not conducive to running a metabolism and treating your body properly. So don't get caught in the,
No,
let me
we would
just
do
have
it
3 shake a
now.
day trap. Okay.
Just as a once up, once a day. So, okay.
All right. So listen, we're way over.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a little half hour, but I'm glad we got to answer lots of questions and give you that basic knowledge. Marianne, get in there and get to work. All right. You have these resources available to you. So use them, take advantage of it. Go back. You can go all the way back to day 1. Okay.
Okay.
If there's any questions that you guys think of after the fact, just send me a message and I will answer them. Not on Sunday, but other times I will, unless
Okay.
it's, I can't imagine a nutrition emergency. That would be 911. That wouldn't be for me. So I definitely will be answering anything that you send my way. Okay.
Terrific. Thank
All
you.
right. So I will see you guys next week, 8 a.m. for our next call.
Terrific.
Okey-doke.
Yes.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Take care, ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, bye-bye.